Do you feel responsible for filling the silence when having a meal? If questions like this have crossed your mind, then you're in good company. Today we'll be taking a closer look at some of the daily habits and social conventions that make up the monotony of life. Let's take a photo, send it to the cloud, and then literally never look at it again. Grab your knitting needles and a blanket because it's time for three old friends to sit around and sew a new patch into their quilt of friendship. So join me, Dion, under the covers with Christian.
Welcome to Patchburg.
And Josh.
Welcome to Patchburg.
Now, before we get started, Dion, I'd like to ask you a question. I just want to get your thoughts on something.
Yeah, what's up?
How do you feel about whistling?
Oh wow. I don't know what you're referring to. I feel like I'm a good whistler. And especially in Canada.
It's all right. You've gotten very defensive. Don't worry. It's not about you.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Okay. So now, how do you feel about whistling? Knowing that the attack isn't coming?
Yeah, great. It's much better now. I think that I get annoyed when I hear someone whistling a tune that I know, or that they repeatedly whistle the same tune.
Okay.
I think that's pretty annoying.
Dude.
And it's generally, I imagine, someone who's uncomfortable with silence. Someone like Josh, I'm imagining.
So, Dion, recently, and just as everyone found out last patch, I am coming to the end of my tenure living with Josh. I will be
You're at the
moving
end of
out.
your tether.
Josh, I would say that it's because summer is upon us. Things are, flying through the air. Josh is in a good mood around the home. And what has been getting me most is not that Josh is whistling, is that he is arbitrarily whistling notes that are inconsequential to one another.
Ridiculous.
They are not a tune. He's just whistling for the sake of whistling.
That's madness.
And hilarious.
No, because you're not doing it at the time to be hilarious.
Yeah, I was.
No, you're not.
Yes, I was.
Okay, a demo, please.
Okay. It's just like...
And so you're not singing anything in particular?
It's just whatever notes come to his head. He's whistling, right?
There's not a tune. There's nothing.
But that's not like... But that's terrible.
I think whistling should be reserved for solo time. I understand that it's an enjoyable activity, same as humming.
Oh, but if I was doing a tune you knew...
I would put up with it.
Really?
I wouldn't love it. I don't think anyone loves hearing someone else whistle.
If they're good at it, it's fine.
There's one friend of ours who is a very, very good whistler, Paddo.
Oh.
He's absurd. He can hit the high notes all night long.
Whistling is the oral doodle.
Yeah.
Which I was really looking forward to saying. But
Right.
you obviously don't judge people's doodling. But
Great point.
Because you're not, you wouldn't come to me and say, Josh doodled some shocking figures.
Josh isn't following you around with the notepad, scribbling and showing you as he goes.
Yeah, it's true. Josh, why do you whistle? What sort of mood do you have to be in to
I
whistle?
think it's just general happiness, right? Like if you're in a feeling good, you might just bust out a whistle. And then when I realized what I was doing with Christian, I went harder and it was very funny.
That would have been funny. Why is whistling a reflection of one's happiness?
Yeah, I don't
it's
know.
a weird thing, isn't it?
Yeah, there's some form of I need to find an output for the feeling I have inside.
Unless it's to do with like, I want to hear music or something like that. Like I'm in a good mood. I want to hear some music. I'll do my own.
Can I ask you?
Was that music?
I'll do my own. No.
Josh makes his own music.
But do you think, like, let's say, slapping your chest or something or stomping your feet, do you think you would have got equal enjoyment out of that as you did out of whistling?
If I was a member of Tap Dogs, I reckon.
Josh has been tapping all over the house.
I reckon there's something particular about the whistle that the tune and the tone of it is pleasant generally.
Yes.
I mean, also, not a very good whistler. Because I don't think...
Yeah.
That was me
Shocking
demonstrating
whistler.
shocking whistling.
No, but
Yeah.
even like it wasn't like it sounded like it was through a filter or something. It wasn't great.
It's hard to do. I'm worried about getting it into the microphone without just blowing into the
Do it
microphone.
to the side.
It's pretty good.
That's not
good.
bad. That wasn't a bad whistle.
Have we not done whistling on this show before?
We don't need to. It's a podcast. People don't need to hear us
So
whistling.
true.
Anyway, the point being, I was a bit happy and I realized that
Yes.
Christian and I doubled down and gee, we had a lot of fun and he's moving out.
So we're very, very lucky in Melbourne. We've just come out of Dictator Dan's longest lockdown in the world, and we're very, very fortunate to be out of lockdown now and able to walk around and do things that we've been wanting to do for a really long time. And one of the first things I did when I found out that we were coming out of lockdown was I booked a haircut. And
Day one.
and it was I just was sick of it. No, that's because that.
What were you sick of?
I'm sick of having semi-long hair.
Because it was
Hey,
honestly,
hey.
it was
Why
the first thing that we realized because we saw each other the first night out, and it was the most noticeable thing about you.
What? I don't understand. That seems like a completely reasonable thing to do to go get your hair done, like fresh boy off the boat.
I think my, not issue with it, but like what was interesting to me is I've resisted the hair because I'm like, it's going to be slammed.
Yeah.
I don't care that much to bother getting in that queue and maybe waiting for up to an hour
No,
or
no,
something.
no. I just booked. I just booked a couple of days in advance. Of course.
so
I
you
wasn't
like-
lining up.
Josh likes going to a barber shop.
Yeah.
I went to a barber shop, just one that booked.
Yeah,
Books.
but the one I like,
That's
they
not
don't
a
take-
cool barber shop then.
It's true. It's true.
And how did they do the back of your hair?
Yeah. Yeah, good. Yeah, all right.
But that was a big priority for you. Was that one of the first things like, I want to get in here and get this done?
Yeah, there was just like a few little things that I really wanted to do, like step foot into a shop. A barber shop, if you will. Just little tiny little freedoms that I really miss. Just having the freedom to do stuff.
I don't consider myself a consumer at the best of times, but something about stepping foot into a shop and just browsing, don't know why that is so appealing to me.
Really?
Like, I've actually
Freedom.
thought that after recording today,
Stop using that word. I hate it.
Yeah, I said it.
Freedom.
It was mine. Yeah.
oh, freedom.
No, just having the freedom to do what you want. But Christian, I've actually got a bone to pick with you now.
Sure.
I got a bone to pick.
Don't call yourself a consumer. What about all those Amazon packages downstairs?
Sorry, are you decorating a new home?
No.
That's right. So how else do you think during lockdown I'm going to buy plates?
From Amazon. No, my issue
Some are
is
from
From
Amazon.
Kmart, $3 ones, mate. They're great.
No,
and
my
versatile.
issue is Amazon. I mean, I've got a Prime membership and I buy stuff regularly from there.
Okay, I'll explain the reason that I have the Amazon things because there was some. I've made a big list of things that I need for my home.
Yep.
And I had a look. I made sure I was like, I want to get first and foremost, going to look for things from Australian stores if I can.
Yep.
But then I looked at some of the reviews for things like the oven mitts in particular. The ones on Amazon, which I couldn't find elsewhere, had like 13,000 5-star reviews.
It's hard.
Don't you want the oven mitts with 13,000 5-star reviews?
But don't you want to be invited to the Amazon groups that exist specifically on Facebook where people go, hey, I'll send you this product for free. All of the reviews, not all of them, because it's 13,000, there are just garbage reviews. And that's the reason why I shop on there sometimes, because of the reviews. You can't go past 13,000 5-star reviews.
But now, Christian, you can go to Maya. You can go to those stores and test them out for yourself.
Can I just ask, what's the difference? Going to Maya,
Where the
going
money
to David
goes.
Jones,
No,
touch
no.
Amazon.
It's destroying the planet. It's a disaster.
All consumerism is destroying the planet.
It's
Unless
true.
you're consistently supporting small businesses,
Yeah.
we're all destroying
No,
the
no, no.
planet.
And I don't. And I'm not saying that. But I don't call myself not a consumer in the best of times.
But are you excited to be able to get back into David Jones, go to Maya? Are you going to do any home shopping in
David
the
Jones
stores?
and Maya, are they your choice? What are you
I
doing?
know, yeah, but I'm
getting a
honestly,
suit.
today I'm looking forward to going to the Homemaker Centre.
Yeah.
Where there's lots of different...
centre.
Yeah.
Which one?
You go in Northland, there's a Homemaker Centre where you can go see couches, then you can go see
lovely.
Yeah.
sofas. Yeah, they're the same thing.
It'll be very quiet opening weekend as well there.
Yeah.
It's going to be a nightmare.
But do you think, Christian, now that we have the ability to go into those stores, you've been holding off on some purchases so you can actually go in store and try
of
it?
course, because a couch is difficult to buy online because you see pictures of people sitting in it.
and being comfortable in
And
it.
I've been looking at how depressed.
That's so dumb.
Yeah, because I'm like, is it a stiff depression, or is there a lot of give? Because I want a couch with a bit of give.
Yeah.
And so the pictures don't do it justice. They get rid of the shadows.
Do you think you would be as excited for retail opening if you weren't moving out?
No.
Yeah, wow, okay.
No, not at all. Because I don't think
You're not a consumer at the best of times.
I'm not a consumer at the best of times.
That is so funny though, Christian. So you're looking at the person, you're going, right, they weigh about 75 kilos.
Yeah.
The depression is that. And then you're doing, oh, God, that's funny.
But it's also about how the fabric touches their skin in the image.
You've spent way too much time looking at this shit.
Yeah, I've looked at a lot of couches online.
So Dion's hitting the barber early. One of your most excited things, Christian, is to get out to get a couch. Let's use that as your example.
Yeah.
That's one of your top. That's been one of your top boys coming out of.
It really
lockdown.
has been. Coming out of lockdown, I'd like to go and buy things for this place that I'm moving into. What about yourself, Josh?
Not shopping side of things. It's just, I think it's just to the pub with friends.
Yeah.
It's to see more than one singular friend at a time.
Yes.
That was weird because we went to a couple of dinner parties on the first weekend, and it was just strange having 8 of my good friends all together in the same room. It was really interesting.
Although, wasn't there a strange moment which really resonated with me where we were at this dinner and
Dinner.
yeah. I
Well,
was
dinner
trying to find a
party.
more
Dinner party
appropriate
has
dinner
weird
party.
connotations.
Dinner parties are awful, yeah.
It was a
Shocking.
dinner.
Yeah.
And there was a moment of absolute silence. And I was
was a
like,
few.
yeah. And I was like, okay, this normally lasts for like a second or two. And it lasted for about 10 seconds.
Woo!
And 8 people, I was in physical pain. I could feel myself starting to like the inside of my body wanted to come out through my skin.
I was okay with it because I'm like, it's not a first date. You know what I mean? So it doesn't matter too much.
Were you okay with it, or did you just whistle your way through the 10 seconds?
It was noticeable and weird, but it didn't bother me the same way it clearly bothered Christian.
Yeah.
I wasn't doing the mental filing cabinet, which is what I sometimes do. Go, grrr, what can I say? What can I say? What can I think of? What's interesting? Da, da, da.
Which is what I am excruciatingly going through at all moments.
Yeah.
And that's why this podcast helps me, because if there's any silence, it's a bad podcast. So, have you had the sense so far that you should be doing something, right? And for those, just to set the context again, for those of you listening, we are in Melbourne. We record this podcast in Melbourne. We have been in quite a lengthy lockdown, and we've just come out of it. So a lot of you across the world have already been in and out of your lockdown. Some of you still might be in lockdown. So please write to us if you're struggling. We know what it's like. It sucks. But we've just come out of it. Do you feel this pressure to be doing something?
I feel like I always do. And it's that question when you get asked it, like at work, how was your weekend? Finally, you have an answer. Whereas I just didn't ask, during lockdown, I just didn't ask that question at all. It's just not worth asking the question. But now, I've always felt that pressure where you just got to seem like you got to appear like you got stuff going on, even if you do have stuff going on, which I generally do. I've generally got stuff on every day, but I feel that pressure. Do you feel the same, Josh?
I feel there's more pressure now to have done something. Like I had a night in last night and I felt like a bit of a loser. I'm like, come on, man. It's the second weekend out.
Yeah. That's because it was a Friday night, though.
But it was a really weird thing of ordinarily, it's have a night in and treat yourself and whatever, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But now it feels like a night in, you've just had 2 months of that, mate.
Yeah.
Do something with your time. So I've got to get better at getting out there and organising stuff, I think.
Yep.
I have found the best way to respond to that question, if I haven't done something, is just to say that I went outside, because people get really impressed by having sun on your skin. Like that's an activity.
So I would ask you,
What did you do on the weekend?
What did you do for the weekend?
Oh, I went for a really lovely walk. I was so good to get the sun on me. And then people will just immediately, it's like you've broken... it's a circuit breaker. They go, oh yes, sun on skin.
Have you ever lied, do you reckon? Have you ever added something in? So, did this on Friday night, did this during the day, and then saw some friends on Sunday, and the saw some friends on Sunday is not true. Never done that? Neither have I.
Well, actually, we had a listener, Frankie, email us during the week asking about this question of how was your weekend and the etiquette around how soon after you ask it. I think in Melbourne in particular, that question now, it's back on.
Yeah,
that question left for a few months and now it's back completely.
Weren't they asking as well, how long after the weekend can you ask that question? So if it gets to Wednesday, you can't ask how was the weekend.
I think now you've got a month that you can ask that question as much as you want and it's completely fine.
What? So 4 weeks ago, how was your weekend?
No, I mean for the next month because we're just out of lockdown.
Yeah.
You can ask that question day or night anytime you want,
Christian?
because it's more interesting.
On a Friday, you can't ask how your weekend, the previous weekend was.
I think you have to be a little more forgiving because
Bloody
we're
hell.
just out.
Oh my
So
God.
if someone says, hey, what did you get up to last weekend? And it's Friday morning, you kind of have to be... and then the pressure mounts to be like, you've Hail Mary to this question with the expectation that I did something That's when the pressure is on.
Yeah, and it's also that thing of when you ask someone, how's your weekend, they reel off all these things, and you haven't done much that weekend. How do you feel? Is it fine? I feel like being comfortable with not doing anything is an amazing place to be, right?
Yeah.
You should be comfortable with that.
Yeah.
You don't have to do something every second.
Or you just answer, like, why can't we just say, oh, it was a good weekend? Full stop.
Because you're not giving someone, you
I
got to
think-
give them more than that. Isn't it a conversation? It's not just a question and
it's meant to
answer.
be, you're right. It's meant to be a conversation starter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good one.
But I think the easiest response.
Hang on, if it's a conversation starter, let them do the brunt of the work.
Oh, so you hit that back to them and they're like, all right, pick that up.
Yeah.
Idiot.
You ask the question.
But I think the easiest response to it, which is now everyone will be using, caught up with some friends.
Yeah.
I just caught up with
It
some
is
friends.
easy, isn't it?
Did you go to the
Yeah.
house? Whatever. I just caught up with some friends.
Okay, so
They were running away. I caught up to them.
yeah, for those of you listening, and because you will inevitably get these questions, you caught up with some friends, you're excited to go shopping, and you went for a bloody long walk, got some sun on your skin.
Hey guys, welcome back to Melbourne Zoo. It's wonderful to have you on this private tour once again. How you both excited to be back at the zoo?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I've been waiting to go shopping for a while.
Well, we'll get the tour underway. Now, first up, we're going to head to the lake, and we've got some lovely swans here. Now, the interesting thing about swans is they're not naturally buoyant. They only float on an empty stomach, and this is why you'll often see them return to shore after feeding on the water.
Feeding on the water.
As in, they've been feeding out on the water, they fill up, and they got to come back to
I
shore.
love the idea of them having little bowls on the water and feeding
Yeah.
out of it. Oh, so not naturally buoyant.
No.
As in buoyant mood or as in...
No, they would sink like a stone.
So you're saying when they're out at water and feeding,
Yes.
it's a dramatic race to get back to shore, otherwise they die.
They don't die, they just sink.
And so you're saying that swans also can breathe underwater?
No, because we have a very shallow pond, and they've got very long necks.
It's a little bit like a submarine.
Yeah. So periscope up,
Okay.
and they paddle along, running along.
And are those submarines made in France?
It's the nuclear powered swans. Okay, I think we'll move on to the next exhibit.
Great football team name, nuclear powered swans.
Now, guys, very excited. We've got the gorillas over here. Now, I don't know if you know this, but gorillas' feet smell so bad that they never smell them, and they try to keep them as far away from their face as possible. And this is why you'll never see a gorilla sleeping or resting near the feet of another one.
Oh, that's interesting. So with gorillas, are the four limbs all feet, or does it have arms and feet?
Arms and feet. The bottom
Arms
two are
and
the
feet.
bottom two are the feet.
So as the expert,
Yep.
how do the back legs
Yes. That's
and
a better word.
how are they kept so stinky and the front legs not, considering they're exposed to the same?
Because it's to do with the pores on the skin, and they trap a lot of oils, and the oils absorb the smell, and the smell is distributed on the gorilla's feet.
Oh, that's really interesting. And does the what was that? Does the smell go anywhere else? And is there anything sort of is it related to mating at all?
No, the smell goes straight into the nostril,
Oh,
and it is it's actually very distressing for them, and you'll often hear them crying out if they get too close to another gorilla's feet.
well, maybe
okay.
if we just maybe just
Wow.
a bit of silence, we might be able to hear him now. Let's just see if.
Yeah, see, it's brutal.
It almost sounded like Josh screaming.
Yeah, it did, didn't it? Very similar.
We'll keep moving on the tour. The final exhibit for today's tour is the mouse enclosure.
Great.
Mouse. This is enormous. It's too big, surely.
Now, I will warn you guys. I don't know if you knew this, but if you feed a mango to a mouse, it will explode. And this is due to the high amounts of acid that is in the mango. The digestive tract of a mouse is very low pH levels, and that has a strong and explosive reaction when met with high acid foods.
Wow. So you're saying that near the equator, a lot less mice, or a lot more explosions. Seems like a very primitive way to go to war. It's all right. We don't need weapons manufacturing.
Well, that's actually right, because back in the 1800s, what they used to do is they take mice, feed them a bit of mango, and then
So
toss
how
them
much
over the
time do you
trenches.
have? How much time before the mango
The
explodes?
fuse, the mango-based
Yeah, yeah.
mouse fuse. It's only about 10 seconds or so.
So it's much like a grenade. Yeah. Okay.
Is there any evidence of a mouse swallowing a pip? Have you seen, have any of your mice ever swallowed that pip?
I don't know anything about mangoes,
Yeah.
except this giant stock of mangoes we have here.
Oh, so you keep mangoes in the mouse
Man,
enclosure?
if this zoo gets invaded, we are ready.
Oh, a couple of sticky feet out there.
Now, some of you may know my other comedy project, Game Boys Comedy. We recently completed a season at the Melbourne Fringe Festival. The show was called Hey Hey, It's Lockdown. It was a piss take of an old 90s variety show here in Australia. Super mega popular, massive show. And it was called Hey Hey, It's Saturday. So one of the people who was on Hey Hey and was notoriously snubbed for their 50th anniversary was Kamahl. And this is the story of how I became friends with Kamahl. Now, for those of you who don't know Kamahl, he was a big singer back in the 80s. So throughout the 90s, just this sort of lounge singer, massive, played Carnegie Hall a couple times. Now he's 87, so he's getting up there now. Big singer, big superstar, amazing guy. So as I said, he was notoriously snubbed for the Hey Hey 50th. So in a bit of a moonshot, I thought, let's just tweet him. So it started with a tweet, and I just said, hey, @official Kamahl, we're a comedy group doing a Hey Hey It's Saturday spoof at Melbourne Fringe. We'd love you to be a part of our Hey Hey since no one asked you to be a part of the real Hey Hey's 50th anniversary show. Please send us a message. We would love to connect. So I fired that off, completely forgot about it. The next day, he replied, I would love to be the elephant in the room.
Oh,
he
wonderful.
says. And I quickly tweeted back, I was like, amazing. How can we contact you? Can you please direct message us or send us an email? And gave our email address. So we didn't hear from him via Twitter for a few days. And we thought, oh, well, he's forgotten about it. It's all done. The show was coming up like the next day. We're like, oh, no big deal. Then we got a call from the festival director. Apparently, Kamahl had called the Melbourne Fringe offices where the receptionist, a 21-year-old expat Kiwi, answered the phone. What followed was confusion on both sides of the phone as this person who had absolutely no idea who Kamahl was tried to work out what the hell he was on about. So it's Kamahl. Who? Kamahl, don't you know who I am? No, sorry, who is this? Eventually, what was thought to be an audience member's complaint about racism in a Hey Hey It's Saturday parody show was passed on to the festival director. So not long after that, we got to speak with the man himself, the self-proclaimed elephant in the room. Now, we talked on the phone with him for about half an hour, and we just let him talk, and absolutely amazing stories kept coming out of his mouth. So during this half-hour conversation, out of nowhere, he asks, so how did I get Bob Hope to introduce me for my second performance at Carnegie Hall? I don't know. Were you friends with him? Okay. It was 1984. The year of the faxes. They just arrived in Australia. Faxes. Anybody in Sydney was invited to Marketplace to send a fax to anybody in the world. So he'd met Bob Hope a few times before, and he knew that he was going to be in New York at Carnegie Hall the night before his concert to raise money for the New York Zoo.
Wow.
So he's like, okay, cool. He faxed through to Bob. I know you're performing for the New York Zoo. Would you mind staying around to raise money, not for a whole zoo, but for a single camel?
Oh.
And that's because people used to call him Camel instead of Kamahl. we were
good.
so lost. We're like, what?
So good.
Oh, okay, great.
funny.
Then Kamahl says, Bob got the joke, and he said yes. So he ended up opening for Kamahl. Bob Hope ended up opening for Kamahl and getting a standing ovation for his 10 minutes of material, while Kamahl had to work 2 hours to get his.
Well, it's Bob Hope.
It's Bob Hope. So the whole thing was just this amazing conversation. It kept unraveling, but always with the exact years, which I loved. So he's like, in 1958, he was gigging around, singing at nightclubs, and after one show, some guy invited him to play at his party. Kamahl agreed, went along to sing at this party. And after a wonderful rendition of Silent Night, the guy's super excited. He comes up to him, he grabs his hand, puts a £10 note in it. It's about $150 these days. So it turns out that party was a News Limited party, and the guy was Rupert Murdoch. What? Yeah. And this was only the start of his relationship with Rupert Murdoch, right? So the following year, in 1959, Rupert bought a TV station and Kamahl did the first ever live television show in Australia.
Oh my
Whoa,
God.
are you serious?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So 3 years later, in 1962, Rupert and his family, they moved to Sydney. And Rupert, he'd go to watch Kamahl.
Don't you love that Josh is also doing the dates now as well? Just like Kamahl.
And also the fact that Rupert Murdoch, it's like when you hear Rupert, it's kind of like he would have just been this little shitty kid, but put it with Murdoch and it's empire.
So different. So in 1962, Rupert and his family moved to Sydney, and they would go and watch Kamahl pretty much weekly. And so Rupert said to him, he's like, you should come to Sydney. So they were in Adelaide at the time. You should come to Sydney. You're going to be a star. And so he organised for Kamahl to perform at Hotel Australia for 6 weeks. At the end of his final performance, after those 6 weeks, Kamahl went to say goodbye. And as he was leaving, Rupert grabbed his sleeve and he said, where do you think you're going? I'm going back to Adelaide, said Kamahl. No. You're going to stay here. You're going to be a star. But where will I stay? With us.
Whoa.
So he lived in Sydney with the Murdochs for the next 3 years.
Oh my God.
See, that's why he gives dates, because he's fact checking. He's like, you don't believe me?
Yeah.
Check it out.
Yeah. Should give months, I think, if he's properly fact checking. But yeah.
Times.
So his relationship with his family is crazy. He even sang at Dame Elizabeth Murdoch's 90th birthday. Apparently, she was a huge fan. And just as a little FYI, they had Jose Carreras sing at her 100th, but Dame Elizabeth fell asleep. So I'll let you decide who was the better performer for that one. He also had some amazing ideas for gags in the show. So he was obsessed with being the elephant in the room, because his biggest hit is a 1975 song. It was called The Elephant Song. Went to number 1 in the Netherlands and Belgium. Big hit for him. Yep. His most hilarious suggestion was as follows. You could have a picture of an elephant and then I'm revealed behind it. I could be wearing a trunk. People might see the trunk and say, tusk, tusk. And if you want the elephant to drop a few out the back, that's okay too.
He's such a good sport.
It's hilarious.
Such a good sport.
So over the next week or so, had more emails, texts, and calls from Kamahl almost daily. But I think I might leave that as a story for another time.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
yes,
wonderful.
please.
That's great.
Do you know what? I love hearing this from your perspective, because I was a witness to it unfolding, and just Josh walking into the kitchen and going, I just spoke to Kamahl on the phone for 30 minutes. I was like, Kamahl. And he's like, Kamahl. It was such an amazing thing to witness unfold.
He's such a lovely guy, though. I think it sort of comes back to that, his whole thing about the kindness of strangers and everything.
Yeah.
Like, it's such a core tenet of who he is.
Yeah.
Is that the highest profile person you've ever met? Surely you had a 30-minute phone call with, but like, how did you feel when you were talking to him? Was it like pretty normal?
It was probably the most wild, like far removed thing, right?
We've had Tony Martin, we've had Andy Lee on the show.
but
that's
Kamahl's
true, that's
a
true.
different level.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Like, it's a completely separate universe, right?
Yes.
This guy is just like, yeah, okay, I'm just chatting and telling these amazing stories. It was awesome.
So good. So Josh, a future story, what might that allude to?
Probably just some of the follow-ups we had.
Yeah, great.
So after he did the performance on the show, just checking in and trying to get more press and like, what about this?
Dion, it's Act 2. That's when the sex and the drugs are introduced.
And for those of you who might not have heard it, we actually got Kamahl to do an amazing voiceover for us. So in Game Boys, we have a fictional fast food restaurant called McKayF Taco King, and Kamahl graciously lent his voice to our latest commercial.
We will post the ad on our social media so you can see the visuals, but here's the audio.
We start with the finest chips. Smother them in rich gravy. Put them on some of our tasty chicken inside a taco. Get that between 2 burger buns. Put that on a pizza. Wrap it up like a souvlaki. Here comes the salad. What about nuggets? And all that can only be served in a bucket? We call it Whopping Big Cheeky Nugget McBucket. But we think you'll call it delicious.
Really, really good. You know what's really, really good? Really, really good. You know what's really, really good?
We love hearing your really good, so make sure that you're jumping on our social media every fortnight on a Friday and posting your best really goods underneath our post. But this week we're going to do something a little different. You know what's Philly good? Correctly guessing the beginning of the drum fill during the Phil Collins classic In the Air Tonight.
Wow, feeling good.
Feeling
good.
You know what's feeling good? Sleeping in a bed with velvet sheets.
Feeling good.
Feeling
good. And you know what's feeling good? Transplanting a seedling into a pot and having exactly the right amount of soil.
Oh, feeling good.
Feeling good. Feeling good. You know what's Thank you so much for listening to Welcome to Patchburg for another week. I've been Dion. Yes, it's awesome being out and about. We hope that you are all in good situations in the world. If you're not, let us know. Write to us. We love hearing from you. We have Discord. We've got Twitch. We've got Facebook, Instagram. Christian, what else have we got?
I just realized that you said if you're in a shit situation, we love hearing from you.
We love, always love.
That's
yeah.
to help.
Yeah.
That's to provide, not to laugh.
Yeah, if you're happy, don't want to hear about it.
Yeah.
No way.
But it's been really nice to see since our last call out for reviews on Apple Podcasts, we've had quite a number of them come through. So please, if you've got your phone with you right now, even if you've got your phone with you later, please take out your Apple Podcasts app and give us a review. It actually helps so much.
Yeah.
I know you guys don't know how it works, but just trust us. It helps.
Well, I don't know how the vaccine works, and I don't know how Apple Podcast reviews works, okay? So I don't know.
And people are anti-review.
Oh, and also just a quick update on the Fringe Awards that we mentioned last time.
Yeah.
So we were nominated for Spirit of the Fringe and Best Work at Festival. We didn't win any of those, but we did win the Sound and Technical Excellence Award.
Hey, congratulations.
Excellent.
Congratulations.
Interesting, a lot of Game Boys content in this show.
Oh, and also my brother, Eden, who I do Game Boys with, his podcast, Cancelled Movie Report, just got nominated at the Australian Podcast Awards for Best Arts and Culture Podcast.
Oh, yeah.
We're in good company here.
Company.
We are in good
leave
company.
Leave that word to me, please,
Leave
Christian.
that word to me. Leave that word to me.
And as we do...
Dion doing his best Kamahl.
And as we do every week, we sew a new patch into our quilt of friendship. Josh, what patch did you sew?
Thank you, Dion. My patch this week was Christian, heading to the shops for some retail therapy and picking up a kilo of mangoes and a 6-pack of mice. Christian, what patch did you sew this week?
This week, I sewed into my patch the terrifying sound of an air raid during wartime in the tropics. Squeak. And Dion, what did you sew into your patch this week?
And my patch this week is Christian and Josh adding to the mouse problem in their house from a few patches ago by ordering 400 locally sourced mice on Amazon Prime. Thank you for listening to Welcome to Patchwork for another week. I've been Dion.
I've been Josh.
And I've been Christian.
Goodbye.
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 As a gorilla discovering its sexuality.
What is it?
It's a gorilla masturbating for the first time.
Go for it.
Doesn't quite know what it's doing.
Yeah.
Oh.